The alarms blared across the command center of the Empire's flagship, a deafening sound that echoed through the metallic halls. Red lights flashed in rhythmic bursts, painting the faces of the officers in crimson hues. Commander Elena Shaw stood at the center of the chaos, her sharp eyes scanning the holographic displays floating around her. Something had gone terribly wrong. A human battleship had slipped past their defenses undetected, a feat that should have been impossible. Shaw clenched her fists as she stared at the data streaming in. The ship, identified as the Odyssey, had bypassed every checkpoint, every sensor grid, and every patrol route without triggering a single alert. How could this happen? The Empire's border defenses were supposed to be impenetrable, a testament to centuries of technological advancement. Yet here they were, staring at proof of their failure. On board the Odyssey, Captain Liam Carter leaned back in his chair, watching the crew work with quiet efficiency. He allowed himself a small smile, though he didn't let it linger for long. They had done the impossible. They had breached the Empire's borders, without being caught. For now, at least, they were safe. But he knew better than to celebrate too soon. The hardest part was still ahead. Liam glanced at the young navigator, Daniel Ross, who was hunched over his console, adjusting their course. Daniel was barely into his 20s, but he had proven himself time and again during their journey. His fingers danced over the controls, plotting a path deeper into enemy territory. Beside him, Engineer Sophie Bennett monitored the ships, systems her brow furrowed in concentration. The cloaking device, their only hope of staying hidden, required constant attention. One wrong move, one malfunction, and they would be exposed. Anything yet? Liam asked, his voice calm but firm. Daniel shook his head. No sign of pursuit, Captain. We're clear. For now. For now, Liam repeated, under his breath. He turned to face the main viewport, where the vast emptiness of space stretched endlessly before them. Somewhere out there, the Empire's forces were mobilizing. It wouldn't take long for them to figure out what had happened or where the Odyssey was headed. Back on the Imperial flagship, Commander Shaw paced the length of the command center, her mind racing. She couldn't afford to make a mistake, not when the stakes were this high. If the humans had managed to infiltrate their territory, it meant they were planning something big. And if she failed to stop them, the consequences would be catastrophic. Lieutenant Cole, she said sharply, turning to her second-in-command. Ryan Cole straightened up immediately, his expression serious. I want every available ship searching for that vessel. No stone unturned. No excuses. Yes, Commander, Cole replied, already relaying the orders to the fleet as the Imperial ships began their search. Shaw found herself wondering how the Odyssey had evaded detection. Was it luck, skill, or something more sinister? The thought gnawed at her, but she pushed it aside. There would be time for questions later. Right now, her priority was simple: find the intruders and destroy them. Meanwhile, aboard the Odyssey, the crew prepared for what lay ahead. Their mission was risky, perhaps even suicidal, but none of them hesitated. They were fighting for something greater than themselves, for the survival of humanity. As the ship drifted silently through the void, Liam reminded himself why they were here. This wasn't just about slipping past the Empire's defenses. It was about striking back, about showing the galaxy that humanity would not go quietly into the night. For now, though they remained unseen, a shadow moving through the darkness. But shadows couldn't hide forever. Sooner or later, the Empire would find them. And when that moment came, Liam knew they would need to be ready. The Odyssey drifted silently through the cold expanse of space, its crew working with quiet determination. Captain Liam Carter sat in his chair, staring at the faint glow of distant stars through the viewport. The ship's cloaking device hummed softly in the background, a constant reminder of their precarious situation. They had made it past the Empire's defenses, but that was only the beginning. Ahead lay uncharted territory, filled with dangers they couldn't predict. Liam's thoughts turned to Admiral Grant, the man who had entrusted him with this mission, back on Earth's orbital headquarters. The briefing had been clear: infiltrate the Empire's core systems and retrieve classified data about a mysterious project known as Eclipse. The details were scarce, but one thing was certain: the Empire was planning something big, something that could threaten the survival of humanity. It was up to the Odyssey to uncover the truth. Navigator Daniel Ross leaned over his console, his brow furrowed in concentration. "Captain," he said, breaking the silence, "I'm picking up faint energy signatures ahead. Looks like patrol ships." Liam frowned. "How many?" "Hard to say," Daniel replied. "The signals are weak, but there could be at least 3 or 4 of them." Sophie Bennett, the ship's engineer, glanced up from her station. "If we get too close, they might detect us." "The cloaking device can only do so much." Liam nodded. "We'll have to go around them, plot a new course. Daniel, keep us far enough away to stay hidden." "Yes, sir," Daniel said, his fingers flying over the controls. The ship shifted slightly as it adjusted its trajectory, slipping into a wider arc around the suspected patrol zone. As the Odyssey moved deeper into enemy territory, the crew began to notice strange anomalies in the surrounding space. The arc passed through a dense asteroid field, its jagged rocks casting eerie shadows against the ship's hull. Pilot Ava Hughes guided the vessel carefully, weaving between the larger asteroids with practiced skill. Her hands moved steadily over the controls, her focus unwavering. "Look at this," Daniel said suddenly, pointing to a cluster of readings on his screen. "There's something out there, something big." Liam stepped closer, his eyes narrowing. "What is it?" "I don't know," Daniel admitted. "It's not natural. Could be some kind of structure." Curiosity got the better of them. Liam ordered the ship to slow down as they approached the anomaly. Through the viewport, they could see glimpses of an ancient alien artifact buried within the asteroids. Its surface was covered in strange markings, glowing faintly in the dim light. Whatever it was, it had clearly been there for a long time. "We should check it out," Sophie suggested. "It might be connected to Project Eclipse." Liam hesitated. Stopping for even a moment increased their chances of being discovered, but the potential rewards outweighed the risks. "All right," he said finally. "Send a probe. Let's see what we're dealing with." A small drone detached from the Odyssey, floating toward the structure. As it scanned the surface, images began to appear on the main display. The markings seemed to form patterns, almost like a language. Sophie studied them closely, her mind racing. "This isn't Imperial tech," she said. "It's older, much older." Before anyone could respond, the ship's sensors picked up movement nearby. Daniel's face paled. "Sir, we've got company. 2 ships, closing fast." Liam's jaw tightened. "Raise shields. Prepare for evasive maneuvers." Ava's hands flew over the controls as the Odyssey accelerated, narrowly avoiding a collision with a massive asteroid. The pursuing ships fired warning shots, their beams grazing the edges of the cloaking field. Sophie frantically adjusted the system, trying to keep them hidden. "We can't outrun them forever," Ava said, her voice tense. "No," Liam agreed, "but we don't need to. Just hold on a little longer." The Odyssey banked sharply, disappearing behind a large asteroid. For a moment, there was silence as the crew held their breath. Then, slowly, the enemy ships moved on, their search continuing elsewhere. Liam let out a sigh of relief. "Good work, everyone. Now let's get moving before they come back." As the ship resumed its journey, Liam couldn't shake the feeling that the ancient structure had been a hint of something far greater lurking in the shadows. Whatever Project Eclipse was, it was bigger than they had imagined, and they were running out of time to stop it. Commander Elena Shaw stood on the bridge of the Eclipse, her sharp eyes scanning the holographic map displayed before her. The red markers indicating the last known position of the Odyssey blinked faintly, taunting her with their uncertainty. Despite the Empire's best efforts, the human battleship remained elusive, a ghost slipping through their grasp. Shaw's frustration was palpable, but she kept it in check, knowing that losing her composure would only make things worse. "Any updates?" she asked, her voice cutting through the tense silence of the command center. Lieutenant Ryan Cole glanced up from his console. "Still nothing concrete, Commander. Our patrols have swept the area multiple times, but no sign of them." Shaw frowned. "They're out there, somewhere, and we need to find them before they cause any real damage." Cole hesitated for a moment before speaking. "Do you think this could be a distraction? Maybe they're trying to draw our attention away from something else." Shaw turned to face him, her expression unreadable. "What are you suggesting?" "I'm just saying," Cole continued cautiously, "if they managed to get past our defenses so easily, maybe it wasn't luck. Maybe someone inside the Empire helped them." The room fell silent as Shaw considered his words. The idea of betrayal was unsettling, but not entirely far-fetched. If someone had leaked classified information about their patrol routes or sensor grids, it would explain how the Odyssey had slipped through undetected. She made a mental note to investigate further, but for now, her priority was finding the intruders. Meanwhile, Communications Officer Marcus Lane sat at his station, pretending to review incoming messages. In reality, his mind was racing. He had been the one to secretly transmit coordinates to the Odyssey, aiding their escape. It had been a risky move, one that could cost him his life if discovered. But Marcus believed in the rebellion, in the hope of a better future, free from the Empire's oppressive rule. Every keystroke he sent to the humans brought them closer to victory and the Empire closer to collapse. Back on the Odyssey, Captain Liam Carter gathered his senior officers in the briefing room. The ship was still cloaked, drifting silently through space as they planned their next move. Daniel Ross projected a map onto the wall, highlighting their current position and the location of the Empire's central data vault. "This is where we need to go," Daniel explained, pointing to a heavily fortified station deep within enemy territory. "It's the heart of their operations. If we can get in there, we'll find the intel we're looking for." Liam studied the map carefully. "How do we get past their defenses?" Sophie Bennett leaned forward, resting her elbows on the table. "Their security systems are advanced, but not perfect. If we time it right, we might be able to disable the outer turrets long enough to breach the perimeter. And once we're inside," Ava Hughes asked, her tone skeptical. "That's where the fun begins." Noah Kim, the tactical officer, chimed in with a grin. "We'll need a small team to infiltrate the facility, while the rest of us keep the ship ready for a quick getaway." Liam nodded thoughtfully. "All right. Sophie, work with Daniel to plot the exact approach. Ava, prepare the ship for evasive maneuvers. Noah, start assembling your team. We don't have much time." As the meeting broke up, Liam stayed behind, staring at the map. The mission ahead was dangerous, perhaps even suicidal. But failure wasn't an option. Humanity's survival depended on what they found in that vault. Hours later, the Odyssey approached the target zone. The crew worked tirelessly, ensuring every system was functioning perfectly. Sophie monitored the cloaking device, sweat beading on her forehead as she adjusted the settings. Daniel guided the ship into position, his hands steady, despite the tension gripping the room. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the ship. "Incoming ships," Daniel shouted. 3 of them, closing fast. Liam sprang into action. "Ava, get us out of here. Sophie, hold the cloak." The Odyssey lurched forward, narrowly avoiding a barrage of enemy fire. For several agonizing minutes, the crew fought to stay hidden, dodging attacks and weaving through debris fields. Finally, the pursuing ships broke off, unable to locate their target. As the danger passed, Liam let out a shaky breath. They had survived for now, but the Empire was growing bolder, more determined. The next encounter might not end so well. We need to move faster, Liam said quietly, his voice firm, before they find us again. The Odyssey hovered at the edge of a dense asteroid field, its crew preparing for the most dangerous part of their mission. Captain Liam Carter stood on the bridge, staring at the swirling mass of rocks and debris ahead. The Empire's central data vault lay beyond it, hidden deep within a fortified station. Getting there would require skill, precision, and a lot of luck. Are we ready? Liam asked, his voice calm but firm. Daniel Ross glanced up from his console. As ready as we'll ever be, Captain. The path through the asteroids is clear for now? Sophie Bennett nodded in agreement. The cloaking device is holding steady. If we stay quiet, we might just make it. Liam turned to Ava Hughes, who was already seated at the helm. Take us in, Ava. Nice and slow. Ava gripped the controls, her knuckles white as she guided the ship into the asteroid field. The Odyssey moved cautiously, threading its way between massive boulders that floated silently in the void. The faint hum of the engines filled the air, blending with the tense silence of the crew. As they ventured deeper, something unusual caught Daniel's attention. Captain, he said, pointing to his screen, there's something strange about these asteroids. They're unnatural. Liam frowned. What do you mean? They're arranged in patterns, Daniel explained. It's like something put them here on purpose. Sophie leaned over his shoulder, studying the readings. He's right. Look at these energy signatures. They're coming from inside some of the larger rocks. Curiosity sparked among the crew. Liam hesitated for a moment before making a decision. Let's take a closer look. But keep the cloak active. We can't afford any surprises. Ava steered the ship toward one of the larger asteroids. As they drew nearer, the object's surface came into view. It wasn't just rock, it was covered in strange markings, glowing faintly in the dim light. The design was intricate, unlike anything they had seen before. This isn't Imperial tech, Sophie murmured, her eyes wide with wonder. It's ancient, older than the Empire itself. Noah Kim, the tactical officer, stepped forward. Do you think this has something to do with Project Eclipse? It's possible, Liam replied thoughtfully. Whatever this is, it's important. Maybe even connected to why the Empire built their station here. Before anyone could say more, an alarm blared throughout the ship. Daniel's hands flew across his console. We've got company. 2 ships, closing in fast. Liam's jaw tightened. How did they find us? They must have been hiding nearby, Sophie said, her voice tense. Waiting for us to show ourselves. Ava, get us out of here, Liam ordered. The pilot responded instantly, sending the Odyssey into a sharp turn. The ship darted between the asteroids, narrowly avoiding collisions as enemy fires streaked past them. Sophie worked frantically to maintain the cloaking device, sweat dripping down her face. They're still chasing us, Daniel shouted. Hold on, Ava said through gritted teeth. She pushed the engines to their limit, weaving the ship through the chaotic maze of rocks. Behind them, the enemy vessels struggled to keep up, their larger size making navigation difficult. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the pursuing ships broke off, unable to follow any further. The crew of the Odyssey let out a collective sigh of relief, though none of them dared to celebrate just yet. We need to move faster, Liam said, his tone serious. That encounter proves they're watching us. Next time, we might not be so lucky. Sophie wiped her brow and nodded. I'll do what I can to boost the cloaking system, but it won't last forever. We don't need forever, Liam replied. Just long enough to finish this mission. As the Odyssey resumed its course, the ancient structure lingered in their minds. Its presence was a mystery, one that hinted at secrets far greater than they had imagined. Whatever Project Eclipse truly was, it seemed to be tied to forces beyond the Empire's control. And as they pressed onward, Liam couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking into something much bigger. and far more dangerous than they had anticipated. Commander Alina Shaw paced the length of the Eclipse's command center, her frustration mounting with each step. The human battleship, the Odyssey, had slipped through their grasp once again. Every lead, every patrol, and every sensor sweep had turned up empty. It was as if the ship had vanished into thin air. But Shaw knew better. Someone or something was helping them stay hidden. "Commander," Lieutenant Ryan Cole said cautiously, breaking the silence. "We've reviewed the logs from the last encounter. There's something odd." Shaw stopped pacing and turned to face him. "Odd how?" Cole hesitated before continuing. "The timing of their movement sits too precise. They knew exactly where our ships were positioned, even when we didn't broadcast it. Someone inside the fleet is leaking information." Shaw's eyes narrowed. Betrayal was a bitter pill to swallow, but Cole's words made sense. If the humans had an informant feeding them classified data, it would explain how they had evaded detection for so long. She scanned the faces of her officers, searching for any sign of guilt. Her gaze lingered on Marcus Lane, the communications officer, who sat quietly at his station. He seemed focused on his work, but Shaw couldn't shake the feeling that he was hiding something. "Start an investigation," she ordered sharply. "I want every transmission reviewed. No exceptions." "Yes, Commander," Cole replied, already relaying the order. Unbeknownst to Shaw, Marcus Lane's heart was racing. He had known this moment would come eventually, but he hadn't expected it so soon. His hands trembled slightly as he typed out another encrypted message, sending updated coordinates to the Odyssey. Each keystroke felt like a death sentence, yet he pressed on. The rebellion needed this. Humanity needed this. On board the Odyssey, Captain Liam Carter gathered his team in the briefing room. The ancient structure they had discovered in the asteroid field weighed heavily on their minds. Its glowing markings and mysterious energy signatures hinted at secrets far older than the Empire itself. But there was no time to investigate further, not when their mission was still incomplete. "We're close," Liam said, pointing to a map displayed on the wall. "The central data vault is less than a day's journey from here. Once we breach the perimeter, Noah's team will move in and retrieve the intel." Noah Kim nodded confidently. "We'll get it done, Captain. Just say the word." Sophie Bennett raised a hand, drawing everyone's attention. "There's one problem. The vault is protected by automated turrets. If we don't disable them first, we won't make it 10 feet inside." Daniel Ross leaned forward, studying the map. "What if we create a diversion? Send a decoy signal to draw the turrets away from the main entrance." "It could work," Sophie admitted, "but it'll take time to set up, and time is something we don't have." Liam thought for a moment before speaking. "Do it anyway. We can't afford mistakes." "Sophie, Daniel, I want that diversion ready by the time we arrive. Ava, keep us cloaked until the last possible moment." As the meeting broke up, Liam stayed behind, staring at the map. The mission ahead was dangerous, perhaps even suicidal. But failure wasn't an option. Humanity's survival depended on what they found in that vault. Hours later, the Odyssey approached the Empire's fortified station. The massive structure loomed ahead, bristling with weapons and defenses. Liam watched silently as Sophie and Daniel worked together to launch the decoy signal. Moments later, the automated turrets swiveled toward the false target, leaving the main entrance exposed. "Noah," Liam said firmly, "it's your turn." Noah led his team into a small shuttlecraft, their faces grim but determined. As they detached from the Odyssey and descended toward the station, Liam prayed they would succeed. The fate of humanity rested on their shoulders. Back on the Eclipse, Commander Shaw received a new alert. One of her officers had traced an unauthorized transmission to Marcus Lane's console. Her jaw tightened as she strode toward his station. "Marcus," she said coldly, "you have some explaining to do." Lane froze, his face pale. He had been caught. But as Shaw glared down at him, He straightened his posture and met her gaze. "You'll never win," he said defiantly. "The rebellion will stop you." Shaw's expression darkened. "Take him to detention and find out everything he knows." As Marcus was dragged away, Shaw turned back to the viewport. The Odyssey might still be out there, but now she had a name and a clue. The game wasn't over yet,